Spent what I would have spent on family gifts on something much better. IMHO, by User Conscious Farmer 6953. I had finally had a huge fight with my family that had been brewing for a long time this summer. I don't think the reason matters, but I cut off all contact and as such didn't need to bother with gifts this year. All kids are grown, so no one's Christmas was ruined. I usually spend about $5,000 on parents and siblings. This year I instead bought batch of debt that was up for collection. Rather than unappreciated gifts, I hope that there are 1,642 people in upstate New York who won't hear from a collection agent this season. P.S. My raccoon really likes her new cave built of shredded paper. Ho 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 people! Edit. I should have mentioned that most of my family is very self-centered. The type who never give to charity and are almost hostile to anyone they perceive as lower than them. So if they knew, they would genuinely be appalled. So much sweeter wine for me. Canceling the gifted vacation without telling anybody, by user mem8m3 lose my mind. I have a family member who is honestly shitty. We had our differences, then supposedly made up. So this year for Christmas I gifted them a vacation they did really want to make. I printed out the booking reservation and gave it as a gift. However, not only did shitty family member had nothing for me in return, I just had so much stuff due to, honestly I totally forgot about you. They also continued to make passive-aggressive remarks about my home and the food I provided, I hosted. So petty me cancelled their vacation without telling them after I knew they were on their way to the destination. Yes, there are fees, but I don't care. I know they will be too stingy to book anything else and will instead return all the way back home fuming and annoyed, which is a great source of joy for me. Cheers. Mill's own tactics blow up in her face during a company Christmas party, by user Gunmetal Mimsy. It's no secret Mill doesn't like myself, F38, or my spouse, her stepson, M36, and for all intents and purposes we ignore her antics and don't engage. She actively tries to keep her biological family away from us as she hates reminders of Phil's martial history, but will go out of her way to try and play the long-suffering Mill. She lets Phil try to invite us to family gatherings in public for appearances, but cancels plans in private days later. We seldom meet, other than the annual company holiday party, since Phil and spouse work for the same company. Here is where the meat of the story comes in. The company party is always a huge event with upscale food, an open bar, live entertainment, and a DJ with a dance floor. Everyone dresses up and shows out with the higher-ups and all that jazz. Everyone is drinking and having a good time, everyone but my Mill and her belligerently hammered firstborn and his new GF. New GF is nice, but both seem dead set on keeping her away from us and actively trying to start fights with passive-aggressive comments. We don't react, we just keep laughing and partying it up since we know everyone there, and they don't. It starts to seem like a non-issue with them seemingly leaving us alone until Phil approaches us, drunk and bursting with glee as he asks us to please join him and his family for New Year's before he leaves for the night. While we gladly accept, I instantly knew what to say when I saw her marching up, pretending to be the doting Mill and telling us how she hopes we all get together real soon. All while hugging me tightly. I just wrapped my arms around that sour-faced woman, pulled her in tight and whispered in her ear, "We already got the invite for New Year's, so your wish is granted. We'll see you then." And planted a loud kiss on her cheek. She hauls backwards, looking absolutely horrified, and ran out of there like a bat out of hell. Spouse is staring at me while I'm just grinning like a Cheshire cat, and he just laughs when I tell him what I did. Sure enough, 3 days later my Phil is calling us, apologizing for having to cancel because there was a family emergency they needed to leave town for. Skull. Phil had forgotten that years ago Phil shared locations with us and never shut it off. They were home the entire night. I genuinely don't think we've ever laughed as hard either. Since then we've also begun to use their same excuse of family emergency to politely turn them down. Yell at me in front of customers, lose your job, by user unlikely_lead 9174. This was about 28 years ago. At age 16, I had my first job at Circuit City. Around the holidays the prices for items would change and it was someone's assigned job to go around and place the new price tags. One day I was helping a couple who were confused about a tag on a brand new speaker. Now, I don't remember exactly how it went, but it was something like the tag read $1.99 and was supposed to be $199. Thinking back, if this were me I would have bought all of them and called it a day, lol, but they weren't a scummy couple and wanted to know what the actual price was. It was ringing in at $1.99. So I went and got the manager. Alongside the couple in the aisle we all looked at the tags and he started screaming at me, "Are you stupid?" and had his pointy finger in my face while yelling. The couple left the store without purchasing anything and my day went on being scolded by him. Even though it was not my fault that it was mislabeled, he made me feel like it was. I should have noticed it, and must be so dumb. I took the abuse because I feared being fired from my first job and right before Christmas. My next shift was a few days later and I was immediately called into his office. I was having a panic attack. Here we go, I'm getting fired, I thought. Well, it turns out that the couple was so disgusted by his behavior that they called the company and complained. I sat in his office with a manager from another location while he apologized to me and then left. I later found out he lost his job. Petty revenge was from the couple's complaint about him, but I appreciated it nonetheless. Park in driveway? Get stuck for 2 weeks, by user root_welcome_3269. This is a story I heard from a friend today and knew that this subreddit was the perfect place for it. Just for context, my friend's house has a small driveway but large bushes on either side of it. It's on a street right next to a very popular park. On the 4th of July, the park was packed and street parking was hard to find. He was away and when he came back to his house, some Karen had parked in his driveway. He decided to park blocking his driveway completely in his rarely used car. He then went inside and soon heard a knock at his door. It was the Karen. She demanded that he would let her car out this very instant. He said that she stomped to exaggerate every syllable. He closed the door in her face. She called the police and they said that he was parked legally in his own driveway. She got a ride with someone, super angry. The Karen apparently said that if he didn't move it by the morning, she would call her lawyer. In the morning, she came back and demanded the car be let out and complaining about Ubers. The Karen let it slip that it was a rental car and that she was visiting family and something along the lines of the kids need my car to get around. They'll be super sad. My friends shut her out. For the next 2 weeks, she came by daily, screaming at him. The Karen was supposed to leave 2 days after the 4th, but had to extend her stay just to get the car. He eventually moved the car, but then called a towing company to tow her car and informed her of it. A couple months ago, she sent a bill to them for the hotel. Her family kicked her out after a week, the rental car, the impound cost, and food at some of the most expensive places in town. It was over $5,000. It went in the bin. I just thought this was so funny and that I had to post it here. I guess she learned her lesson, don't park in strangers' driveways. Edit, forgot little detail.